It's Monday, August 3rd, and this is now on H&N.
We will see a surge at the hospital in the coming days.
State officials are warning that another statewide lockdown might be the only way to stop the spike in cases.
We already have a window that bad news is on the horizon, and we need to act on it.
Honolulu bar owners say the regulations they face are overwhelming.
So I'm actually going to be applying for unemployment on Monday morning. That's my goal right now because I'm unemployed. I can't pay myself, can't pay my company, can't pay my landlords.
A hearing for the Idaho man whose stepchildren were found dead on his property offers new details in the case with ties to Hawaii.
What appeared to be a small body tightly wrapped in black plastic.
These stories, plus we're tracking tropical trouble on the East Coast. The latest developments coming up on This Is Now.
But if we see cases here in the range of 100 or so a day for the next 7 days, then the only smart thing to do would be to take a major step back, pause, have 2 weeks of safer at home or even safe at home. That was the ultimate category, the be at home, and just be careful.
That was Lieutenant Governor Josh Green speaking moments ago to a reporter here at H&N.
And new at noon, Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell just announced that Governor Ige has approved his request to re-limit indoor and outdoor social gatherings to no more than 10 people, regardless if people in the group live together. The amended order also specifically restricts funerals and other death-related events to 10 people. These rules are effective immediately.
Good afternoon, I'm Jonathan, your director-producer, alongside Ashley here. We've got so much news to get to, but we start with the latest case numbers.
That's right, health officials are reporting 207 new COVID-19 cases today, but we're told the big number of cases is a result from testing delays over the weekend. State Health Director Bruce Anderson says 114 of those cases are from this weekend. Tests sent to the mainland labs overwhelmed by the surge on the mainland are taking longer to process. The breakdown by county shows 198 patients are on Oahu, 7 are on Maui, 2 are on the Big Island, and there are no new cases on Kauai. Meanwhile, as you heard, Lieutenant Governor Josh Green and Dr. Scott Miskovich, one of the top doctors leading testing efforts, are now both saying a statewide lockdown might be the way to get a handle on the recent surge in cases.
I wanted to get your perspective on this because this is my first pandemic, and I'm curious how common it is for labs not to have all the data and to kind of mess with the numbers a little bit.
This has been problematic for all of us that are in the field now. When you think about it, when we had the major turnaround where DLS lost its capacity, there was a cry from all of us who were in the testing field and all the medical professionals who know how important it is to get same-day data, 24-hour data. It goes back to that contact tracing. It goes back to be able to isolate, quarantine, follow, inform people who are associated. So this is a huge concern for us that we've now had a, 3-week warning on, and we're sitting here kind of in the same position. So we're very concerned. It makes it very difficult to really understand and keep the people safe.
So given all this and what has been happening in recent days, do you think it's safe for kids to go back into the classroom even 2 weeks from now?
No, I think that, I do not think it's the right time for children to go back to the classroom. You don't have to be a doctor. Look at those graphs we see. We have that one graph where we did it and we got our curve down, and now we have this spike that's going up so fast, so high. We haven't seen any inflection point in it. Why are we going to have our children go back, which we know can get the disease, spread the disease, bring it back home? Granted, they're not dying and getting sick, which is thank the Lord. But why are we going to let them go to then create another vector to start spreading it further through the community, especially Oahu? So no, I don't think it's the right time for the children to go back until we see the curve is down, the percent positives are going down, and our hospital and ICUs are not skyrocketing, but starting to flatten.
Okay, that's schools. The lieutenant governor is floating this idea of a 2 to 4 week shutdown once again because of the numbers we are seeing. Do you agree with the lieutenant governor?
100%. I've been advocating this as we started to see the rise. When I've been on CNN, I've been saying the same thing. It's the way this is get this control. We demonstrated in the state of Hawaii as a state that showed the rest of the country how to do this. When we responded decisively in March and we shut it down, stayed at home, worked at home, we just turned that right down. We need to do the same thing now so we don't have this. Let's pull the Band-Aid off fast. Let's do it right now. Let's get it under control so we can have a planning stage to really be able to realistically go back. Right now, where we're going, who out there can think realistically you could put a date on when we're going to resume normal activity? There's no way to predict it. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And we should help the people who are struggling get an idea if there is a future light at the end of the tunnel again.
The coronavirus has surfaced at the Federal Detention Center. Here's Lacey Denise with what we know.
A spokesman for the Federal Detention Center in Honolulu confirms that there has been a COVID-19 case at the facility. We're told it's a first case and that several safety protocols are in place to prevent it from spreading. That includes testing all arriving inmates. It's not clear, though, whether the patient is an inmate or a corrections officer. There is great concern about how quickly coronavirus can spread through a prison population, including the guards. As of July 28th, more than 78,000 prisoners have been diagnosed in the country and 766 have died. That's according to a nonprofit journalism initiative called the Marshall Project. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
Nearly 3,500 people arrived in the state on Saturday, according to the Hawaii Tourism Authority. That's the highest number since the Trans-Pacific quarantine started in March. More than 1,000 were returning residents and 988 were visitors. Meanwhile, the state is reminding people to avoid large crowds after groups gathered at Waimea Bay on Saturday. You can see people up on the rock taking part in a jumping contest, but Sunday the beach looked much less crowded. Over the weekend, bars were not in business. While bar owners believe they should not be blamed for the uptick in infections, government leaders say those businesses need to stay closed for now. Jolani Martinez has both sides.
It's the first weekend since Mayor Caldwell issued his order to temporarily shut down bars, but the decision to do so still leaves many with questions. I spoke with the chairman of the Hawaii Bar Owners Association, who says owners and business leaders were never given an opportunity to share the impact closures would have on the economy. Bill Comerford owns 4 Irish pubs, but because he has a general dispenser license, his doors must remain closed for 3 weeks.
So I'm actually going to be applying for unemployment on Monday morning. That's my goal right now because I'm unemployed. I can't pay myself, can't pay my company, can't pay my landlords, can't pay my insurance, can't pay my taxes.
But even owners of restaurants with bars says they understand the city's actions, but says it can be overwhelming.
There are so many people doing it the right way, and the amount of regulations that are put on us compared to just call it like a city park or a beach is just almost overwhelming in what we have to do to stay in business.
Lieutenant Governor Josh Green understands the risks of transmission within bars, but says too much energy is being spent on one thing when much more spread is occurring in parties and at beach parks.
The obligation should be to then pay some of their overhead so that we don't lose all those people's jobs. We don't shut them down for 3 weeks and nobody else. Because what's the difference right now between a restaurant that sells liquor until 10 versus a bar that sells food until 10?
But the health department director said restrictions for bars were necessary.
The bars apparently have taken actions to try to prevent the spread, but it's practically impossible in a bar. You can't drink when you're wearing a mask. And of course, bars tend to be gathering places for people, and people tend to let down their guard after they've had a drink or two.
A spokesperson for the mayor issued a statement that said this is not about targeting bars, it's about protecting public health and safety. After the 3-week closure, we plan on resuming targeted enforcement of bars. Jolani Martinez, Hawaii News Now.
UH revealed that a football player tested positive for coronavirus yesterday. The school says the student started showing symptoms last week and has been out of practice and in self-isolation since then. Fall camp was set to start today. It has now been postponed until tomorrow. The university says all 116 student athletes scheduled to participate tested negative in the first round of surveillance testing in late July. Some of the state's charter schools have started to reopen with some new safety protocols. Casey Lund has more from Kahala.
Definitely a big day here at Mary Star of the Sea School. There is a lot to consider as Kiki returned to in-class instruction, though we did talk to some parents about their feelings. And a lot of them said because the school kept them in the loop, really communicated with them, they felt a lot more comfortable about today.
We feel safe with the plan the school has because we're lucky to have very small classrooms and the kids are separated 6 feet apart. And, hopefully they'll be wearing their masks and keeping their social distancing. And they're really excited, to see each other, and they're ready.
Back out here at Mary Star of the Sea School, we want to introduce you to Principal Margaret Rufo. Margaret, we're outside math class right now, and as we peer in there, just tell me a little bit about what's going to be different for kids as they return to class today.
Right, the only thing that's different is what they look like, right? And then maybe their personal space is going to look a little different. They'll have more of it. And but the kids are used to wearing masks, so it's not as if we're throwing them into the fire of that newness piece, right? And they know the why. We've been living it for months now. So I think they're just excited to be here.
They are, and I
they're
can tell you,
just excited to get out of the house.
Yeah, seeing the kids here at the big smiles, just happy to be back together,
Correct.
Safely, socially distant. This is a big day. Behind the scenes, though, I'm sure a lot went into today.
Right, and communication was a key factor, is creating the planning team, communicating our steps along the way with our families. I received a number of emails saying that parents were so appreciative of just being kept in the loop, providing survey opportunities, listening to their voice, and then planning based on how our community is feeling today. And every school has their own challenges.
That's
and
true.
That's the key, right? We're blessed, we're a small school, we have lots of space on campus, so my challenges may not quite look like the same challenges as our bigger schools out there.
Exactly,
So,
and yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there are people that maybe have still some anxiety about returning to in-class instruction. For those families that feel that maybe they are at higher risk or they're just not comfortable sending their kids back, you do have options available for them.
we do. We have the virtual student option. So we have some live classrooms right now where the students are tuning in from home. So they're still feeling like they're part of the class, but just not physically a part of the class. And then we have our homeschool option, where we have a program that's a different curriculum and a different homeschool teacher, but they're still affiliated with our school.
Very good. Margaret Rufo, principal of Mary Star of the Sea, thank you so much for being transparent, for showing us around, letting us ease maybe some concerns of those parents out there. We appreciate you, and we appreciate your team's effort getting kids ready to go back to class today on August 3rd. Reporting from Mary Star of the Sea School, I'm Casey Lund for This Is Now.
Now, there's a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force that says we've entered a new phase of this pandemic. Chris Martinez has the latest developments from across the mainland.
Community leaders and students came together in Los Angeles, urging the school board to listen to science and the event they decide to reopen schools for in-classroom learning.
This means increasing funding and supporting schools to open safely and not forcing Black and brown students back into our schools when it's not safe.
The demonstrations were part of a so-called National Day of Resistance taking place amid rising coronavirus cases in numerous cities.
It's not safe yet to come back into the classrooms. You know, we don't want to see our students' families dying. We don't want to see our colleagues dying.
In Georgia's largest school district, around 260 employees have been excluded from work after testing positive or being exposed to COVID-19. The University of Kentucky has begun testing its 30,000 students for the virus as part of the school's reopening plan. Back in California, coronavirus hospitalizations in Los Angeles County have dropped in the last week, But the nation's top health experts say the pandemic has entered a new phase in rural areas.
To everybody who lives in a rural area, you are not immune or protected from this virus.
President Trump lashed out at Dr. Deborah Birx for the comment, calling her assessment of the virus pathetic on Twitter, and later saying this.
There's a lot of people that in a lot of areas that have gotten very, better very fast.
Officials across the country are moving to crack down on scenes like this one, where nearly 1,000 people attended a boat party in Illinois. Deputy sheriffs in New York City shut down a massive boat party over the weekend and arrested the boat owners for violating rules intended to slow the spread of COVID-19. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Gruesome new details are emerging in the case of 2 children whose bodies were buried in the backyard of an Idaho property.
It was what appeared to be a small body tightly wrapped in black plastic, covered in duct tape.
A detective testified this morning about finding the bodies of JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan on Chad Daybell's property. Daybell is the children's stepfather. The detective said the bodies were buried under rocks and under thin wood paneling, and he said he could smell the bodies decomposing. After hearing evidence, the judge is expected to decide if the charges against Daybell will move forward in state court. Daybell is accused of destroying or hiding evidence. He married the kids' mother, Lori Vallow, who was arrested on Kauai. They were also married on Kauai in November after the kids were last seen alive. Both have pleaded not guilty in the case.
Happening right now, tropical trouble is bearing down on parts of the East Coast. Katie Beck has more from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
For most of the day in the coastal Carolinas, weather conditions have been pretty mild, but all of that is subject to change as Tropical Storm Isaias makes landfall somewhere between the North and South Carolina border, expected sometime tonight between 8 and 12 p.m. At that point, there is storm surge expected, torrential rain, at least tropical storm force winds. So folks will be seeing those conditions overnight, moving inland and moving north. As for shelters, South Carolina says they are not opening many, and they are urging people to make alternative plans due to COVID-19. That's obviously, this puts a wrench in things when you do hurricane planning and emergency management to also have it happen amidst a pandemic. So they are asking people to try and stay with relatives, try and remain socially distant, and hunker down as this storm passes through. Now, the interesting part about this storm is that by tomorrow morning, it will be heading to Norfolk and then up the mid-Atlantic into even New York City tomorrow evening. This storm is having a wide-ranging impact on the whole northeastern seaboard this week. As for now, the coastal Carolinas are where all eyes are watching for that landfall that is expected later this evening. And it is expected at that point that the storm will upgrade to a Category 1 hurricane. We're going to keep the latest on the conditions from here. Back to you.
Thank you, Kathy. Not looking too bad there, but we'll keep an eye on it and keep tracking it for you all day long here at H&N. We're going to take you outside to get a check of our weather. Looking pretty nice. Temperatures in the low 80s. Here's Guy Hoggy with an update of your forecast.
Aloha. On this Monday, we have textbook trade wind weather coming in over the next several days. And that means windward and mountain showers, mainly in the overnight and early morning hours, light to moderate rainfall totals, at least through tomorrow. Because on Wednesday, look for an increase in showers, likely lingering all the way through Friday. And we got these breezy trade winds here, and they're not leaving anytime soon, except, of course, over in Kona, where the light winds there means more higher humidity levels ahead for them. For us, we got great stuff from Maui all the way to Kauai. Winds running 15 to 20 miles an hour. Morning showers, lots of afternoon sunshine, and not much surf, although there is at least a little bit of activity for pretty much for all shores island-wide. A nice surprise on the North Shore, even though it's smaller today. At least they got a little bit of something, and that's pretty much the same for the South Shore. Bigger but choppier over on the east side. So again, we've got the nice trade wind weather through tomorrow with just a few minor splashes. A disturbance coming in Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with more showers. In fact, on Friday, we could even see a few heavy downpours, and that's going to dry up as we head into the weekend. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe...
Oops, Thanks, Sky, for that something. Let's get a check of what the internet's talking about right now. Here's what I found. This is super cool. Virgin Galactic announced an agreement with Rolls-Royce to develop an aircraft for supersonic travel.
Ooh.
And this is the new look that was just revealed. It's hoping that this aircraft can reach 3 times the speed of sound. It's only capable of holding about 9 to 19 people on board, cruising at an altitude of 60,000 feet. The aircraft's design also aims to lead the way towards state-of-the-art sustainability aviation fueling.
That's very cool. And I did the math, Jonathan, to put this
Yeah.
into context that Hawaii people would care about.
Yeah.
So if you took this aircraft from Honolulu to Las Vegas, it would only take you about an hour to get there.
Whoa! Yeah, it brings back memories of the Concorde. So that's
Mhm.
supersonic travel capability that could be back in the near future.
Yep.
What'd you find?
So Apple has reportedly bought a startup firm with technology that could turn your iPhone into a mobile payment terminal. Now, users would be able to either tap their phone or a credit card to another phone to process a transaction. While Apple Pay lets you use your iPhone to pay in stores, this technology could allow any iPhone to accept payments without needing extra hardware such as a card reader.
I use Apple Pay all the time.
I know, this could
love
be
it.
dangerous.
Yeah, I know. Especially between me and you. You owe me $5.
Right. And you can now buy merchandise from the 2017
Oh, no.
Fire Festival fraud in the Bahamas. So the U.S. Marshals are auctioning hats, shirts, wristbands, and other branded items like these from the festival. I don't know why you would buy them, but some people might. So proceeds will go to the victims of Billy McFarland's $26 million scam. Some items are selling for 20 times the original price. So McFarland sold tickets for thousands of dollars to the supposedly luxurious event in the Bahamas and promised bands like Migos and Blink-182. But instead, ticket holders found themselves on an underdeveloped island with poorly constructed tents and skimpy food options. Now, McFarland is serving 6 years in prison for the Fire Festival fraud.
Both Hulu and Netflix have great documentaries about this story. You gotta check
Fascinating.
it out,
Yes.
right?
Right, and the koala population is rapidly declining in Australia, with scientists warning of their extinction if action is not taken. As Ian Lee reports, one American man is on a mission to save the vulnerable species.
Koalas are an icon of Australia, but one that could be gone in a generation. They face multiple threats from fires, disease, and deforestation. So American filmmaker Doug Thron decided to do something about it.
I saw these videos of basically, koalas being burned up and people trying to rescue koalas. If I'm not going back to California, I guess I'm going to Australia because, I knew that my infrared drone could save countless number of koalas.
Last year, devastating fires swept across large parts of Australia. Nearly 3 billion animals killed. The koalas lost a third of their population. Thron moved around the world with a mission to slow their decline, now using his drone to help count and rescue those remaining.
She'd only be about 10 months old, and because of the drone, this little life was saved.
His thermal cameras scour the landscape, doing in minutes what it used to take hours.
You fly the drone over an area and you do it while the ground is cooler, and then the heat of the animal pops up. You can see the shape of the koala basically.
Knowing the population is important in protecting the koala's habitat, say conservationists.
It helps us to ask or campaign to government, don't allow that forest to be bulldozed or chopped down, because that's the number one threat at the moment.
So for now, the species remains out on a limb, one that is very fragile. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Makes your heart melt. Really one of the cutest creatures on Earth, in my opinion. So
Definitely, yes.
glad they're
Hopefully
getting some
they can
help
make
there.
a comeback.
Yeah. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this Monday. We got a lot more coming up for you.